Imagine a universe where humans are the stuff of nightmares. Sounds like the plot of a sci-fi horror movie, right? From toppling empires to uniting galaxies, humans have proven time and time again that they're the apex predators of the cosmos. But what makes us such terrifying predators, not just in combat, but in the grand scheme of things? The Delpan Empire's ambition. So picture this, the Delpan Empire. These guys were like the neighborhood bullies on a galactic scale. They had this insatiable hunger for conquering anything and everything in their path. From one system to the next, they just kept on going like a cosmic bulldozer, crushing civilizations left and right. It was like they had a checklist of planets to invade, and they were determined to tick off every single one. Their expansion was nothing short of ruthless. They had this way of rolling in with their massive fleets and overwhelming firepower, leaving no room for negotiation or diplomacy. It was basically surrender or get steamrolled. And most planets chose the former because, well, the Delpan Empire was terrifyingly efficient at what they did. Now let's talk strategy. The Delpan Empire had this down to a science. First, they'd identify a target, usually an unsuspecting planet with resources they wanted, or a strategic location. Then they'd hit them hard and fast, catching the locals off guard. Surprise attacks, orbital bombardments, you name it, they did it. But here's the thing, not every conquest was a walk in the park. Some planets put up a real fight. They had diverse ecosystems and unique geographical features that made it tricky for the Delpan forces. Plus, there were planets with native species that didn't take kindly to being invaded. These guys fought tooth and nail to protect their homes. It wasn't always smooth sailing for the Delpan Empire. They faced resistance, rebellions, and all sorts of obstacles on their path to domination. But, you know, they were so used to winning that they started to believe they were invincible. This is where it gets interesting. After conquering planet after planet, the Delpan Empire started feeling like they were untouchable. They had this aura of invincibility around them. No one can stop us, they'd say, and honestly they kind of believed it. It's like when you've won 100 games of chess in a row, you start thinking you're a grandmaster. The Delpan had this hubris, this overconfidence, and it blinded them to the cracks in their empire. They thought they could pour all their resources into taming this one particular death world called Earth, and it wouldn't be a problem. Big mistake. Little did they know that those pesky humans on Earth were about to prove them dead wrong. But that's a story for another time. The point is that the Delpan Empire's ambition and ruthless expansion ultimately led them down a path of overconfidence and arrogance that would come back to haunt them, which brings us to the invasion of Earth. The invasion of Earth. A beautiful blue planet, home to us humans, spinning peacefully in the cosmos, when out of nowhere, the Delpan Empire's ships descend from the skies. They had a thing for making dramatic entrances. In the beginning, the Delpan invasion was shockingly successful. They came in hot and heavy, using their advanced technology to quickly gain the upper hand. It was like a cosmic blitzkrieg. Major cities were under their control within days, and they had our species reeling. Their technology was so far ahead of ours that we were fighting with sticks and stones compared to their laser beams and plasma cannons. Earth's military forces were overwhelmed, and we were forced to surrender city after city. Now here's where things get interesting. Earth, despite being our home, was far from united. We humans have our differences in different nations, different governments, and different ideologies. It was like a recipe for disaster. The Delpan Empire exploited our divisions to their advantage. They played us like a fiddle, knowing that our lack of unity was their greatest asset. It took a while for us to realize that the only way to stand a chance against these invaders was to put our differences aside. It wasn't easy, mind you. Convincing rival nations to work together was like herding cats, but slowly we started to see the bigger picture. We had to unite, or we'd be crushed individually. This is where the human spirit truly shone. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, we started coming up with some seriously ingenious ways to resist the Delpan oppression. One of the coolest things we did was sabotage. We'd mess with their tech, disrupt their communications, and sow confusion in their ranks. It was like guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale, and we were good at it. We'd hit them hard and then disappear into the shadows before they knew what hit them. But it wasn't just about sabotage. Humans are crafty, and we use our knowledge of Earth's terrain to our advantage. We'd set up ambushes in the most unexpected places, turning our planet into a giant battlefield. Plus, our ability to adapt and innovate came in handy. We'd repurpose their technology against them, using captured weapons and vehicles to level the playing field. It was like MacGyver meets Star Wars. But perhaps the most remarkable thing was our resilience. We refused to give up. Even when the odds seemed insurmountable, we kept fighting. And slowly but surely, we started pushing the Delpan Empire back. And then, the Silent Rebellion took place. But why? The Silent Rebellion. You see, when you're facing an intergalactic bully, you've got to get creative, and boy, did we get creative. First, we knew the Delpan Empire was watching us like a hawk, so we had to be sneaky. We concealed our rebellion under the radar. No grand declarations or flashy revolts. We played it cool. Our secret weapon? Subtlety. We started small acts of defiance that wouldn't raise too many red flags. It was like a rebellion in disguise. We'd quietly spread dissent, whispering in hushed tones, passing messages under the table, and sowing the seeds of resistance without the Delpan catching on. Now, let's talk about the nitty-gritty stuff, the tactics that defined our silent rebellion. Sabotage was our bread and butter. We'd mess with Delpan tech like there was no tomorrow. Communication networks would mysteriously go down, supply chains would get disrupted, and their fancy weapons would suddenly malfunction. It was like they were haunted by gremlins. But we didn't stop there. Oh no. We knew how to stage an uprising when the time was right. Picture this. A Delpan-controlled city, seemingly calm and orderly. But beneath the surface, humans were organizing. And when the moment was ripe, we'd rise, taking the Delpan forces by surprise. Then there were covert operations. Our rebels became masters of stealth. They'd infiltrate Delpan facilities, gather intel, and strike when the enemy least expected it. It was a game of cat and mouse, and we were the crafty cats. Now, let's talk about those Delpan assassins, the black-clad lethal operatives sent to quell the rebellion. They were good, no doubt about it, but we were better. You see, we had this knack for turning the tables on them. They'd come hunting for rebels and we'd lead them right into traps. We'd lure them into abandoned buildings where hidden explosives would turn the tide in our favor. It was a deadly game of hide and seek, and we were the masters of deception. The Human Alliance. Humans have this knack for rallying the troops, and by troops I mean a whole bunch of other oppressed species in the galaxy. So picture this. The Delpan Empire had its tentacles wrapped around numerous alien races, and they were all suffering under their rule. It was like a cosmic dictatorship, and nobody was having a good time. But here's where humans shine. We reached out to these oppressed species and said, hey, we're in the same boat. How about we team up and kick some Delpan butt? You might be wondering how we managed to convince these folks to join forces. Well, we humans are pretty good at diplomacy, and we had something they wanted: hope. We spread the flames of rebellion like wildfire, showing other species that resistance was possible, and that the Delpan Empire wasn't invincible. We shared our tactics, our strategies, and our determination. It was like a rebellion masterclass. Slowly but surely, different species started rising against their Delpan overlords. It was like a domino effect, and the galaxy was lighting up with rebellions. And then, the magic happened. We formed the Galactic Alliance. It was like a sci-fi Justice League, with humans leading the charge. We had a common goal: kick the Delpan Empire out of our galaxies, and we were ready to do whatever it took. In the end, it was the power of unity, determination, and a good old-fashioned revolt that brought the Delpan Empire to its knees. The Galactic Alliance, led by humans, showed the universe that oppression could be toppled, and that sometimes even the mightiest of empires could crumble in the face of a united front. The collapse of the Delpan Empire. It all started with a little something we like to call panic, the kind that makes emperors break into a cold sweat. So there we were, the Galactic Alliance, giving the Delpan Empire a run for their money. They were spread out like a cosmic buffet, conquering this, subjugating that, when suddenly the Delpan Emperor hit the panic button. I mean, who could blame him? His precious empire was on the verge of falling apart like a cheap space station. In a fit of desperation, the Emperor did the only thing that made sense to him at the time. He recalled every single fleet from the front lines. You see, he thought that by bringing all his toys back to the Imperial capital, he could crush the rebellion on Earth and then deal with the pesky uprising in the rest of the galaxy. But oh boy, was he in for a surprise. Now, this is where it gets interesting. With the Delpan fleets pulled back to the Imperial capital, Earth and the rest of the galaxy were suddenly free from the iron grip of the oppressors. It was like the universe's version of spring break. We humans, being the resourceful creatures that we are, saw an opportunity and pounced on it. We gathered resources like there was no tomorrow. It was a cosmic scavenger hunt. Factories worked overtime, churning out weapons, ships, and supplies. Agri-worlds were back in action, producing enough food to feed a rebellion. But it wasn't just Earth that benefited. The other oppressed species in the galaxy also got in on the action. They seized control of Delpan facilities and repurposed them for the greater good. The Delpan had unwittingly funded their own downfall, and we were more than happy to cash in. Now, here's the grand finale. The eventual fall of the Delpan Empire to the Galactic Alliance. With their fleets recalled and their resources dwindling, the Delpan were in a tight spot. They had underestimated our determination and cunning, and it was coming back to haunt them. The Galactic Alliance, fueled by newfound resources and a united front, launched a massive offensive. It was like a celestial storm, and the Delpan Empire was about to get swept away. The rebellion spread like wildfire, liberating planet after planet from Delpan rule. The Delpan Emperor, realizing that his empire was crumbling around him, tried to hold on to power, but it was too late. The oppressed species, inspired by the success of the rebellion, rose with a vengeance. It was a rebellion within a rebellion, and the Delpan couldn't handle the heat. In the end, the Delpan Empire collapsed like a house of cards. The Galactic Alliance, led by humans, showed the universe that even the mightiest empires can fall when the people they oppressed unite against them. It was a victory for the underdogs, a lesson in the power of unity, and a reminder that even the most tyrannical rulers can be brought to their knees. The outcome. You'd think that after toppling the Delpan Empire and uniting a whole bunch of oppressed species, humans might be tempted to take over the galaxy, right? Well, you're in for a surprise, because we didn't do that. Yeah, you heard me right. We showed surprising restraint. See, when the dust settled, we had the power, the resources, and the opportunity to become the new overlords of the galaxy. But we didn't. Why? Because we're not into that whole conquer and dominate thing. We've been through oppression, and we know how much it sucks. Instead, we wanted something different. Peace. So here's the deal. After the Delpan Empire bit the dust, we humans did something kind of unexpected. We dismantled a big chunk of our fleet. Sounds crazy, right? But we had a plan. We realized that maintaining peace was more important than flexing our cosmic muscles. We wanted to prevent another empire from rising, another cycle of oppression. So we scattered our remaining forces across the galaxy, like cosmic peacekeepers. Our motto became, protect and serve. We'd defend the weak, maintain order, and make sure nobody tried to pull a Delpan on the little guys. It was like being the galactic police force, only without the donuts. Now, let's talk about the Black Hand Assassin Guild, the top dogs in the galaxy until the rebellion. You'd think they'd be toast, right? Well, not exactly. The humans understood that the Black Hand, like many of us, had broken their contract during the rebellion. But instead of wiping them out, the humans decided to give them a chance to change. They said, look, you guys messed up, and we could have taken you down. But we're gonna let you live, if you promise to dismantle the Black Hand. Humans as predators. We've been through a roller coaster of rebellion, victory, and the aftermath. So, what's the takeaway? First off, we humans are resilient. We faced the might of the Delpan Empire, a force that had conquered countless species and systems and didn't back down. We adapted to the situation, evolved our tactics, and showed the universe that we're not an easy nut to crack. Our silent rebellion was all about being clever, sneaky, and resourceful. We concealed our resistance, sabotaged the oppressors, and outwitted assassins sent to quell us. We were like cosmic ninjas, striking from the shadows. But it wasn't just about us. Humans have this incredible knack for rallying the troops. In this case, other oppressed species across the galaxy. We formed the Galactic Alliance, inspiring hope and rebellion among those who had suffered under the Delpan Empire's rule. The significance here is that we showed unity as a force to be reckoned with. When we came together, we could topple even the mightiest of empires. The Delpan learned the hard way that oppression breeds resistance, and humans are darn good at bringing folks together for a common cause. Let us know in the comments section below what your thoughts are on this, and make sure to subscribe to our channel.